And excuse the poor lighting. I do not have a ring light. I'm using a a really powerful work light to do this, so please bear with me on that. But what I'm going to be doing is going through how I built my own WWE sets for my figures, which I'm going to be using in my little comic that I do for fun. How I built those physically, how I did the artwork, how I did basically everything on that. So as we get started, let's kind of take a look at what I did here. I'm going to move the camera a bit. Okay. I might have to hold the camera for this. Okay. Here we go. So we've got our cutting board. We've got everything ready to go. But how do we start out? First, you got to start out with some concepts, basically. And without those
bingle bongle dingle dangle, yickety doo, yickety da, ping pong, lippy tappy toota.
So it's always good to plan things ahead, sketch out what you want to do, make sure you've got, everything planned out in terms of corners and stuff like that you might need to complete the project. I'm sorry, I'm having some problems with my phone here, guys. We'll get it in just a second. Okay. And son of a bitch. This isn't going well. This is not going well at all. No, 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 no. Oh, no, no, no. Wah! This is frustrating. Problem is, I'm trying to get it to where I can see it, and you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. So, what we started with was basically a really simple sketch of what I wanted. This is based off the old sets from the WWF in the late 80s and early 90s, excuse me. This set was used often by Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. How could I forget Bobby the Brain Heenan? I don't know. I've got his figure around here somewhere. But anyway, the goal was to have a set where I could have two announcers or interviewers or whatever sit at this desk, have a screen that they can look at reviews on the background, have logos up on the sides and stuff so you can identify each of the promotions as we go through. The next one I really wanted to do was definitely an entrance, and you can kind of see part of that here. But you got to have a good entrance for wrestling. It's one of the quintessential parts of professional wrestling is that entrance. So the stage that you set for that really does set the tone for the overall production. And you can see each of these are kind of sketched out in a very, very basic 3D type alignment. You can just give you an idea of how big I wanted things to relate to each other, not necessarily the final dimensions of the product, but just give me an idea of how I want it to work forward on it. And finally, now this is one that I'm still working on, and we're hopefully going to have some progress today, but it's going to be a half of a toy ring with the ropes pulled down on one angle so you get just that inside view with four or five or six pennants, I guess you could say, kind of floating in the background. And this would be for interviews for wrestlers right before they go out to a match or something like that. It would be kind of like the final interview stage that you would have before hitting that entrance. So those are our sketches here. And the first thing I had to do really was sketch out what I wanted to do in terms of the entrance, because this was going to be the most complicated cutout because I wanted to cut it in 3 dimensions, so I only had one piece of cardboard. You can kind of see the results of that here. You can see the corners. What I did was I made sure every line that I drew, I knew which one that I wanted to fold and where. And here's something that's really important when you're drawing on something you're going to cut out. Draw on the back of it. or whatever you intend on being the back, and keep drawing on that side. Make sure you don't let the bottom get damaged on whatever surface you're working on. Lay down something before you start, especially if you're going to start cutting. Make sure you have another piece of foam under it or something of that nature so you don't cut whatever's beneath it. But yeah, you can see if I bring up the archway, I'm going to take off the decorations real quick, just so we can get a basic view of the arch. Okay, so here is the basic structure of the arch itself, and you can actually see if we turn it around, you can see where I did all the folding and stuff like that. You can see that this part actually is glued on. I did end up cutting them just because the surfaces didn't fold really well, but I would fold it and then I would cut it, re-glue it in place so I can get that good right degree angle. You don't really necessarily have to get that either. You don't have to have perfect cuts or anything because you're going to use tape and other things later on to kind of fill out the stuff that you're missing, so keep that in mind. Once I got this taped up, it was just a matter of getting some Gorilla Tape, which is kind of like duct tape, but made by the people that make Gorilla Glue. I chose this because I really like that texture it has. It has this kind of black texture. Hey, kitty cats. My kitties say hi. But it gives you kind of a nice texture. It looks neat. I just like the way it looks at the end. The desk itself, I had a lot of help on in terms of getting it cut out and shaped right. But yeah, here is the desk itself. Most of the images that I'm going to take with this are going to be shot straight on, maybe some about like that, so the rest of the way this looks doesn't really matter. In fact, if you look at the back, you can see how there's tape just exposed here. I should probably do something about that, but I haven't yet, so that's okay. So yeah, that's the desk. And then finally, we've got the little wall behind the desk, which might be my favorite part of everything. And that is this bad boy here, this kind of sectioned piece of board that sits behind the desk to kind of encompass them. And what I did for this is I cut out a square. I measured equidistance on the back side and just made sure I had an equidistance, and I cut. But I didn't cut all the way through. I only cut just enough to cut through the foam so it would naturally have this shape once I was done. And once I was done, I put a tape up each panel. The tape is almost the exact length of each of these things. I didn't measure that out beforehand, so that's a mistake. A very happy mistake. I don't think that looks right. Anyway, it worked out really well. The tape is almost the exact width that I need for it, and so that's good. Now, in terms of decoration and stuff like that, the question became, how do I get things like my logos? So stuff like these. How do I get these on to this stuff? And you probably have a good idea of how to do it with the Velcro, but we're going to go step by step because I've got to make some more of these. And what I've got to do actually today is I've got to finish up this desk, and this is going to be the correspondence desk for TVW, which is my indie kind of lower card promotion that I have in my fantasy league. And the reason I didn't have it last time is because I accidentally printed the wrong logos. And I've reprinted them here today, so we've got the right ones. This is the logo for TVW, which stands for Total Victory Wrestling. It's meant to be kind of like an NXT / USWA type thing from the late 80s and early 90s. You can see I've got a couple more logos here, including the GPW logo that we're going to create a smaller one for. So yeah, let's go ahead and get these cut out. We're going to do a lot of cutting. Put those in here. And so, sorry, I'm trying to make sure I keep all of my pre-made Velcro pieces together so they don't get separated. Okay, so that goes here. This here. Sorry, I'm here. We'll just kind of throw that right there for now. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put this aside for now. I'm going to put all this down here, back here. And now, my friends, we're going to start some cutting. I love doing this. This is like my favorite part. Before we do that, we are going to tie up my hair to make sure that I don't get it caught in the cutter. Okay, get my fancy stuff out of the way. All right, y'all. Let's get to cutting here. Hopefully. Oh, I see I have a viewer. Welcome, viewer. I'm not going to really be able to see the chat very well, so if you have questions, I'll check in periodically just to see. Get this lined up here. I've had this paper cutter for about 20 years, and it's the best damn paper cutter I've ever owned. Really do love it. Ooh, cut that one close. Okay. And get one more cut on here. The way I like to line this up is I like to look at the edges of the art and make sure it's lined up with the metal there. You can get some pretty clean cuts that way. I've got a little bit of an edge there, but that's okay. It's going to come out in the wash. We don't have to worry too much about making super precise cuts as long as we get close. In fact, we can even cut into the image a little bit, and that would be okay because it's going to, at the end of the day, it's going to be pretty easy to fix that kind of stuff because that's what we do. Okay, this is going to be a booger. That was pretty dang close. I'm pretty proud of that cut, given that I couldn't really see what was going on. Okay. Woo! Don't get your... I got my fingernail cut under here once. Ugh. It's one of those awkward pains. You ever have a pain that's just like awkward? It doesn't really hurt so much, but man, it feels funky. And you're like, ah! You're like, yeah, because it's just gross. And I don't really understand how to explain it other than that. Okay, we almost got this one done. Okay. It's nice. We got a little GPW, and GPW stands for Grand Prix Wrestling. That's kind of the overall name that I have for my fantasy promotions. This stands for, WWA stands for World Wrestling Association. This is kind of my WWF variant, of course, late 80s, early 90s type, although it does have modern wrestlers. I'm not an ageist like that. All right, let's get this lined up here. Okay. We're making pretty good progress. This is pretty good. I'm feeling good about this. I'm feeling good about this. And remember, don't worry about making mistakes when you're cutting these out. It's way more important that you be careful when you're cutting them out, that you don't cut yourself, because these things are incredibly sharp. It can hurt really bad if you catch them wrong, and if you catch them even wronger, they can feel funky. And I hate that feeling. Okay, now these are the ones that I really need, so I'm going to shut up for a second as I work on these a little bit better. No. I'll line it up like this with this edge because I know this edge is even and consistent. I want to make sure I get that little white thing off there. Perfect! Sorry. Look at it! Look at it! It's beautiful! Man, I feel like I'm really going over the top right now. Got to make sure it's lined up at the top. Always, if you're using an uncut piece of paper, it's best to make sure that it is flush up against this and you're not like crinkling it in any way. That's really the best way to make sure you have a true, clean, straight cut the first time, is to make sure that part is even and the cutter does the rest of the work for you. Excellent. But after you make that first cut, I don't like to depend on it that much because I'm paranoid about lines staying straight, and after I make the first cut, I kind of lose that control on that specific edge. Look at that. TVW. Where's the camera on this damn thing? There it is. There it is. Oh yeah, look at how pretty that is. Move the light a little bit. closer. Excuse me, Catty Bree. I'm sorry. Had to move one of my kitties. There we go. Isn't that fancy? Okay. Let's cut out a few more of these. Ah! But look at how clean that is! Look at that tiny little piece of paper that it cut! Okay. Cut! Ugh! It wasn't as clean as I wanted it to be, but that's okay. Like I said, things do not have to be super clean as we do this. It's kind of a Bob Ross thing, you know? If you mess up, we'll make it work somehow. That's okay. Okay, we're almost done with this sheet. Make sure that white edge is over. Still didn't get it. Dang it. Because I didn't rely on this front edge. That's the problem. See there? Gotta rely on this top edge, man. See? When I rely on the top edge, I'm fine. Kind of hard to do that at this point, but that's okay. You got to be really careful when you get into these small things too, because your fingers are going to get really close to this edge, and you really want to make sure they stay on this side of the bar to keep them safe, because like I said, it hurts, but even worse, it feels funky. Excuse me. Just got some corn in my head. You never really listen to corn. They were not my cup of tea. Back in the day, they're really not now, but that's okay. You like corn, you like corn. I think that's just fine. I'm more of a guar man myself, but I understand that not everybody on this planet can be a bohab, and I wouldn't expect everybody on this planet to be a bohab. Otherwise, who'd they kill in concerts if everyone was a bohab? Come on. You gotta have someone to murder on stage. Okay. And if you don't understand that joke, you need to look up Guar, because they are the greatest rock band in the world. That's not true, but I'm singing it anyway. I got one more here. And I'm really probably not going to need all these. I do like to have extras. And we'll do one more sheet before we start cutting out the cardboard. Or, excuse me, the foam core. There's that. Okay, so the next one I want to make sure that I've got a solid GWA logo to cut out. I have these problems with the printer. It does this weird ghosting thing sometimes. It's really frustrating. So this is my GWA logo. Both of these have got some pretty bad ghosting on it, though. Let's take a look at one of the other ones that we've already done so you can see what I'm talking about here. Here we go. Nope, here we go. So this is the original, and you can see here on the W there's a weird kind of overlap stuff going on, and it just really doesn't look good. So I think we're up the creek on the GWA, unfortunately. That's really depressing, because that's my favorite of my logos, is definitely this one. It just looks so wonderfully 80s, and I love that. I am getting a call right now. I am going to reject this call because I have no idea who it is. There we go. Okay. Guess you can tell who my favorite wrestler is. Hi. Are you watching my stream, lady? Or am I just talking to that? Oh my gosh. I might have to go for a second, guys. I just got a text. Dang. Oh well, so we've got those. What we're going to do next is I'm going to take a quick break, I think. Actually, no, I'm going to grab my other phone. I'm still here, and I'm still talking. I'm just really far away from the camera right now. So if you can leave your name and number at the tone, maybe I'll get back to you. And then again, maybe I won't. You never can tell. Now, can you? Sayonara. All right, got my other phone plugged in here. Going to send out a quick text. Rooney. If it'll open. All right, so we're going to put that up. Up next, we're going to start on these audience backgrounds. Now, I don't own this yet. Straightforward, I don't own it. So if that's something you're looking for, I'm very sorry. You can get these at extremesets.com. I just cannot afford it right now, so I kind of make my own until I can afford the thing. I'm sorry. All right, let's see if we can get some of this cooked out. Oh, crap. Sorry, kitties. Hey, Dora. Pandora's my girl. I love her so much. She's such a little thing. She's not a little thing. She's a big thing. She's a big old girl. She's a chunker. Now, in this one, we really don't have to get these lines that perfect because this is just really going to be background for the sets. So we can... have something looking like an urn behind me. Okay. Anyway, who's watching? Drop me a message so I know what you like. If you got questions, if anything is going on, that'd be cool. Yay, I got a text. I like getting texts, which is weird for me. Not really a texting guy. Like I said, I'm not really trying to cut these super straight. I just want to... Well, I thought the person who texted me, I thought was the person watching me, but that ain't the case. So I really have no idea who's up in here. But I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing to some degree. All right. And these are going to really be for the entrance stage and maybe for the... no, not for the interview stage, because the interview stage I want to be a backstage set. Kind of a dark background, probably, but we'll see. Okay. All right, so I've got that one done. I've also got this one. I'm going to do the same thing, just cut around the edges here, so I've got some clean pieces to work with. I'm going to check something real quick here.